My name is Erica Gibson, or as you'll hear in the video shortly, Miss Gibson. I chose to do the mock parent teacher conference for my Family Connections project. So meaning what you'll see is a simulation of a parent-teacher conference to go over certain things like the program itself that the preschool is, the developmental goals of a fourth grader, the individual's strengths and individual goals of the students, and the teacher and parent will talk about these and bounce some ideas off each other. I solely wanted to do this project because for me, growing up, parent-teacher conferences wasn't a big thing that happened, maybe once a year to talk about grades or behavioral issues that the teacher's seeing in the classroom, and it always felt like teacher-parent conferences were about behavioral issues or academic problems that the child was having. So not everyone looks forward to these meetings, even the parent and even the teacher. I remember growing up, the teachers always complained about parent-teacher meetings. And because, again, in my experience, the meetings were always about the teacher giving the parent the student's issues, like laying it out on the table and then saying, okay, you need to fix this, and not really room for discussion, like, what can I do to help? Or maybe we're thinking about this in a different light. Maybe it's not a behavioral issue. Maybe it's something else that we need to look into. So I wanted to do this type of project to show you, future educators, how easy, simple, and relaxed these parent-teacher meetings can be. I wanted to put the parent-teacher conference in a new light to talk about the positives of the student and where the student can go. So not just about any issues in the class, but what types of progress can the student make, getting them out of their comfort zone and getting their full experience of this preschool, pretty much. This is also a great way for you to become familiar with the student's parents or guardians or family in general, because again, this project is about making family connections. So just taking 10 to 15 minutes of your time to build that strong relationship will equal better school life and probably more motivation for the parents or guardians to reach out and help you in the classroom, which is also really important. And I wanted to stop and say that in my field work that I've been doing for this class, I've noticed that my school has a designated day for parents to come in. So every single Friday there's a block of time after dismissal for parents to come and to talk to the teachers about anything, or just to see the students' projects, or to see the classroom, or just to turn in papers, really whatever. And I believe this is a great idea because it makes everything more relaxed and also a better environment in general. And it works for people's schedules too. So there's not pressure trying to fit every single parent with every single teacher meeting in 1 week. It's more throughout the school year, whenever you can make it, and there's no pressure, which I really like. So briefly, I wanted to talk about the Reggino Emilia approach, which can be found on page 77 in our textbook. All this information comes from the textbook about the approach. So this program was started about Loris Maligozzi, about the time that World War II finished. This approach has a couple of key elements that I'll talk about in the video, like in-depth projects, strong parent-teacher relationships, good teacher documentation and observation of the student, and also these projects will play on the student's skills and interests and goals and also take a more artistic route, sorta. I also wanted to talk about the developmental goals for 4-year-olds, which can be found on page 111 in the textbook also. The ones that I highlighted in the video are that students should be working in groups of 2 to 3 by this age, also using words to solve conflict, so no more like tug-of-war wars for toys. Also being able to draw a little bit more in depth, like stick figures, and they're more curious about the world and how things work. So I also talk about the individual's strengths and weaknesses. So for this student, I talk about his strengths are he's a good planner and he's really artistic, and some of the individual goals that we talk about are that he needs to start working in a team and also using words to solve conflict. So that's pretty much everything that I talk about in the video, and I hope you will see shortly. A special thanks to Delaney and Trevor for being my wonderful actors, and I hope you all enjoy the video. Thank you! Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Williams.
Hello.
I'm happy that you both can make it.
We're happy to come.
So please take a seat, and how's the drive over?
It was a quick ride, although I am worried for this meeting. Did Arnold do something wrong? Is there something we should be worried about?
No, there isn't anything that's wrong. Far from being wrong, actually. I wanted to have this meeting to discuss Arnold's progress this far in the year, and what are some ideas that we can come up with to help Arnold to get a meaningful experience here. And I just wanted to get to know you both a little bit better.
Oh, great. That relieves our worries.
I'm glad. I didn't mean to make you guys nervous at all, but do you both remember what our approach here at the preschool is?
I believe I remember. Isn't it the Reggio Emilia approach?
You're right. So I would like to give you a little bit of a refresher to jog your memory about our early childhood program here at the preschool. Like you said, Mrs. Williams, our program is the Reggio Emilia approach, which has been around since the end of World War II. It was developed by Louis Malguzzi. So this program is based off of a couple different things, including in-depth projects with a discovery setting in the classroom, which can be seen in our workshop area in the classroom right over here. So in this corner of our classroom, we have a camera for students to use, different art supplies, and computers for students to use, to look at different coding things and stuff like that, but also to create the projects and different presentations. And as you can see, we keep it as open as possible for the students so they can feel motivated and inspired to work there. So keeping everything accessible is an important part of the program, and it's a key element.
Wow. I didn't know you had so many different materials as resources for students. What sort of materials was Arnold interested in?
So he was really interested in the art supplies like clay and paint, but he also took a surprising interest in the computer that we have. And this is great to see because much of our world is now done online and on computers.
Great to see him getting familiar with the resources that you have available and the materials that you're offering. Is there any other key element that he's been focusing on?
Of course. The other key elements of the approach is strong parent-teacher involvement in the child's work, which is seen as a critical element of this program because the students' skills are always developing and their interests are always changing. So by having these meetings with one another, we can make sure that Arnold's projects are focused on his individual skills and interests. Also, to get ideas from one another about future projects, which is really important. So do you guys have any other ideas about what type of topics Arnold would be interested in, or any different type of art mediums he would like to work with?
Well, Arnold has been really interested in dinosaurs lately, so maybe a project that focused on that.
Yeah, since you mentioned that Arnold was really interested in the computer, maybe he could do his next project with all of the programs that you're offering.
Awesome. I think these are both really great ideas, and I think working with the computer will allow Arnold to advance his computing skills and also have more practice with it. So that's a great idea. Thank you for that. So moving forward, another key element of this approach in our early childhood program is documentation of the work. So this is to make sure that Arnold is specifically targeting his skills, and for me as a teacher to reteach teaching strategies and come up with new lessons and ideas for the students of the class. So I'll show you those records later in the meeting. And so far, do you have any other questions?
No, I think this program is great because there is so much focus on the students' skills and interests. It's nice that we can have conversations about Arnold as an individual, worried if he can keep up with the other students.
I also agree. That's a great quality about this program. However, I do have one question. Are there targeted goals for a kid that's Arnold's age? This can be something we can look out for at home and help you create projects toward these goals.
Yeah, I was actually just about to go over these, so thank you very much. You're right, Mr. Williams. It's nice to have certain goals and standards to look for in students so you know if they're developing on time or not. So according to PDE, which is the Pennsylvania Department of Education, their standards go really in depth in areas like play, literacy, math, science, social studies, creative thinking, and my favorite, the physical and emotional well-being of the student. And Arnold has done really well in subject areas like math, science, and literacy and things like that, but he can feel more relaxed to play, and he needs to work on that a little bit, just letting go of like the academic side and learning a little bit more how to play.
He gets that from his father.
Oh, so this is something just to keep in mind when you're, thinking about him at home. But no need to fear, because Arnold will go through all of these standards and complete them on his grade level this year. So to go in a little bit more detail about developmental goals for 4-year-olds, so a couple of them are being able to work in groups of 2 to 3, so collaborative work, using language to solve conflict instead of just taking a toy and running off with it, per se. I would like to play with that and getting a little bit more sophisticated with that. Drawing stick figures, and they become a little bit more curious about how things work in the world.
Great. Now we have some goals to look for Arnold's development in the future.
I agree, and personally, I think Arnold has done really well this far into the school year. He's really excelled in his project and showed off his skills, and he really feels at home in this environment, which is important because we want the students to excel and be motivated to come to preschool. Do you guys have any other questions?
No?
Awesome.
Well, I'm glad that he feels at home with this approach. We were worried that he would feel too overwhelmed with all of the projects.
I understand this is a normal concern, but I can assure you that Arnold is doing great, and this is a perfect fit for him, this early childhood program. So now let's talk about a project that Arnold has completed this far into the school year, and we'll talk about some of his strengths and maybe some goals from this. So a concept we looked at last week was actually planets. I let the students pick whatever sort of project they wanted to do since it's early in the school year and I still don't know their strengths and some of their goals that they want to do yet. So Arnold really wanted to do a model planet of Saturn in clay. And I know he took the model home, but I have multiple pictures here for us to look at. There's this one. So, and also here's my notes while Arnold was working on the project. Again, documentation is key in our preschool program. So I tried my best to do detailed notes for the project, after the project, and during the project. So from the get-go, he was planning. He had his sheet of paper and he was trying to spell out his materials. For example, the colors of clay, the different tools he wanted to use, and even the reference picture that he wanted to use throughout the program. He was very thorough in doing this. And then he got right to work. And he was very attentive to every detail. Before making that move, he would look at the reference picture and to make sure what he was doing is correct, which is astounding to me, honestly. So, which shows his ambition for the final project. So, from my stance as his teacher, I believe some of his strengths are good planning, accuracy, and thorough work. What do you guys think of this?
Well, I can really see his attention to detail, even while at home, while he was looking at pictures of the planet to study it. I feel that one of his strengths is his artistic capability, being able to work with clay, paint, and other art materials.
Good, so maybe for future art projects he can make a replica of an artist's painting in either, of course, paint or water pastels or something like that. And I really like that thought. Thank you for that.
I agree with everything that was said. Like you mentioned Ms. Gibson, I feel like Arnold's strength is strategic thinking. He always knows what the next step is with whatever he does.
Yeah, he's a very calculated student, which isn't a bad thing. Okay, this is great to get your point of view so that I know what to look for in future projects. Let's talk about Arnold's goals. From what I've seen, Arnold tends to work by himself, so I think a goal that we should set for him is being able to work in a team of 3 or even more if he's comfortable doing that, to see how his cooperation is with others, but also to target one of those developmental goals that we talked about earlier, which is working in groups of 2 to 3.
Yes, he's always worked by himself. I think a goal we should make is recognizing a problem and coming up with a solution, even if it's as small as his pencil breaks or a problem when working in a group.
I like this a lot because, again, we'll be hitting one of the developmental goals, which is using words to solve conflicts with others. So, great idea. Thank you.
No problem.
Well, I like both of the goals for Arnold, and I feel that both of them are going to be manageable throughout this year.
I agree. I will start to create some projects and different lesson plans that tailor to his individual goals, and I'm positive that he will reach these goals by the end of the year or even sooner with the help of me and both of you, and again outlining this important teacher and parent connection and communication that we have here. So here I have an outline for you guys of everything that we went over. So the Regina Amelia approach. This approach is our preschool's early childhood education approach, which goes in depth with strong teacher-parent communication, the in-depth projects, and using the workshop in the classroom also, and the developmental goals. So some of them that we talked about that we wanted Arnold to hit was working in groups of 2 to 3 students and also using his words to solve conflict. And Arnold's individual strengths and goals. So some of his strengths that we talked about is his good planning, his accuracy, he's very calculated, he's artistic. So we mentioned a lot of strengths that he has. And again, a couple of his goals is working in those groups that we really want to target. So do you guys have any other final questions?
None from me. However, it was nice to talk to you about all the positive things that Arnold has done in the program that you're offering.
I don't have any, but thank you for meeting with us to discuss this kind of information. It was nice coming in and meeting you.
Of course, and we'll schedule another meeting next month to reassess his strengths and goals for more projects in the future, because we always want to be reworking this. And thank you both for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I am going to make notes of everything that we just talked about in the meeting.